Hey guys, the Dark Leandra here again, this time with part 2 to my recommendations for underrated Gothic literature. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the next book I would like to recommend is Zofloya or the Moor by Charlotte Dacre. This is kind of a classical Gothic type of novel, so if you like The Monk by Matthew Lewis or The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, you'll love this one. It was written during the same time period, the 1800s, although I don't remember exactly when. It's basically about the story of Vittoria di Loredani, who is the daughter of spoiled and indulgent aristocrats, and who could have led a virtuous life if it wasn't for the crime her mother committed. When I say crime, it's just adultery, no murder, but yeah, adultery is pretty serious. So because of that, Victoria is led down a path of crime and debauchery, and I'm not going to say any more because I want you to pick it up and read it, and I'm afraid of spoiling it. Like I said, this novel has quite a bit of similarities to The Monk. I think the author was influenced by The Monk very heavily, so if you liked that one, you'll love this novel. Another thing that makes this novel so fantastic, in my opinion, and the big attraction, is Victoria herself. She's she's kind of a psychopath, to be honest. She really is. She's one of the most ruthless, conniving, selfish, arrogant, blind, self-centered heroines you could possibly imagine. I mean, she really makes Lady Macbeth look like an innocent little kitten. Lady Macbeth, I promise you. This one's fierce. She really is a tough baby. So if you like classical Gothic literature, I would strongly recommend this one. Now, the next novel that I don't actually have on me because I borrowed it from my school's library is Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. Again, it's not particularly underrated, but as far as vampire literature is concerned, I think it deserves a little more attention, in my opinion. Everyone knows the story. I don't really have to give out a summary. I must say that I actually prefer Carmilla to Dracula because there's a more focus on feelings and emotions, whereas Dracula is very action driven. There's not much in the way of plot development in Dracula, in my opinion. Just give me a second. There's a plane going by. It's making a lot of noise. It's okay, it's gone now. Sorry for that, but I had no way to stop the video. So yes, I think as far as vampire literature is concerned, Carmilla is highly underrated. Hey, it's also one of the first lesbian vampire novels, so you know what? Go check it out. Although I must admit that there's nothing really explicit, nothing really sexually graphic about the lesbian subplot. It's very, like I said, it's very emotionally driven. More feelings, more psychological than anything else. So yes, go check it out. Next we have The Moth Diaries by Rachel Klein. No idea how to pronounce the name. Anyway, this is kind of a modern retelling of Carmilla. Or at least Carmilla has a very, very strong influence on this book. Carmilla is actually mentioned regularly throughout this novel, so it's a big influence. Basically, this book is about a 16-year-old unnamed narrator who is at an exclusive elite private boarding school, and she decides to basically write a diary. So at first in it, she talks about how she's looking forward to starting the new school year, mostly because of her roommate, Lucy Blake. The two of them have a very intense, very great friendship. The thing is, there is this new girl called Anessa who arrives at school and who immediately captures Lucy's attention. So Lucy starts to spend all her free time with Anessa. They play together, they go to class together. Basically, Lucy spends more time with Anessa than she did with our unnamed narrator, her old roommate. So her old roommate starts to panic. She thinks there's something wrong with Anessa because Anessa's a little weird. There are strange things that happen around her. So she becomes obsessed with Anessa, basically. So a big thing about this novel is that it is actually quite ambiguous. You're not quite sure what's going on, or how reliable the narrator is. Obviously, since it's recorded from her perspective. Um, there are also a number of other Gothic, very obscure Gothic novels mentioned, although you can find I've looked it up on the internet and haven't found much information about it. Um, if you like psychological horror type stories, then check out the Moth Diaries. Um, yeah. Next, I would like. Okay, so the next book I would like to recommend is something I'm not sure really belongs on the list, because it's more like a YA novel with Gothic undertones rather than pure Gothic. Nevermore by Kelly Cree. It's basically about this cheerleader, Isabel Lanley, who for an English project is paired up with Varen Meadows, who is a school resident goth. And their English project is about Edgar Allan Poe. So I think by now it's pretty obvious why I chose this book, but if you're afraid to pick up this novel because of the whole cheerleader goth aspect, don't. I mean, in my case, I really, really liked it. It didn't feel cliche at all. I mean, maybe it's because I haven't read any other stories with that type of romance before, but this felt very new to me. And Varen is a pretty good representation of goths. I mean, he's not your... Well, maybe not a good representation, but he's not negative either. I mean, he's not depressed, he doesn't cut himself, he's not a Satanist or any of that kind of stuff. He does have a few family problems, but it's never insinuated that that's why he's a goth. So, you know, truth be told, Varen is one of my all-time favorite fictional characters. And I wish that he were real, but unfortunately he's fictional. The Edgar Allan Poe element is also very, very strong. I'm not going to tell you how it's written into the story because I want you to pick up the story for yourself, and I would be spoiling the rest too much. But it's very, very solid. It's very important. It's not just thrown in there like that. It doesn't. I mean, the romance doesn't dominate it. So yeah, if you like goths or if you like Edgar Allan Poe, please check out this book because it's actually really, really good. And last but not least, The 13th Tale. Sorry, that's not a plane. Don't mind it. Okay, so The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. If ever there was one novel that deserved the prize for best modern Gothic novel, it would definitely have to be The 13th Tale, because this book hits every single spot on the checklist. I mean, you have the decaying old house, you have the oh god, what is it? Yes, big family secrets, big family drama. You have the sibling relationship that's a little twisted, a little perverse. There are numerous references to Jane Eyre. Again, Jane Eyre is pretty important to this one. The general atmosphere, the general ambiance, the house that's isolated in the middle of nowhere. This book is really, really fantastic. And if you want a short summary, it's basically about this biographer called Margaret Leah, who goes to interview this very famous but reclusive author called Vida Winter, who has finally decided to tell the story about her life and how she grew up. The thing about Vida is that whenever someone has tried to interview her before, she's always changed the story of her childhood, basically, so no one has really got the real version, the exact version. But since she's dying, she decides to tell the truth about her childhood and her story, and she calls on Margaret Leah to do that. Like I said, if you're looking for a modern Gothic novel that has, like I said, the isolated, decaying old house, the family secrets, dark family history, twisted sibling relationships, as well as a fire. Yes, there's also a fire. Fires are a very common theme to Gothic literature. Then pick out The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. It's really incredibly well written, I promise you that. So that's it, guys. My recommendations of 10 underrated Gothic novels. So please let me know down below which ones you've read and which ones you would add to the list. And I will see you next time for another video. Bye!